I'd like to take a moment to tell you about the Blockchain Academy. The Blockchain Academy is an educational training firm that offers blockchain training for both stakeholders and developers. The Blockchain Academy works with enterprise clients to create and deliver innovative training programs globally. The Blockchain Academy courses can be taken online or in a live classroom setting. They now offer a new blockchain course targeted towards attorneys and international regulation. To learn more about the Blockchain Academy, visit them at theblockchainacademy.com.
This is the Blockchain 360 podcast. Blockchain 360 is a podcast of interviews and discussions about the current state and direction of blockchain. Thank you for joining us today. If this is your first time listening, then thank you for coming. The Blockchain 360 podcast is produced weekly for your enjoyment, and show notes are found at our website, blockchain360.co. Come back often and feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow us on Twitter at Blockchain360. All links discussed today are included in the show notes.
My name is Bryant Nielsen, and I'm your host here on Blockchain 360, the podcast where we talk about everything blockchain. And my guest today is Sami Rusani. Sam is a serial entrepreneur with several multi-million-dollar businesses under his belt. He has worked with global brands, major ad agencies, major labels, as well as many startups. He also mentors and coaches entrepreneurs, shares marketing, sales, and business advice, and real-life scenarios from his projects, and teaches them on how to grow their business. Sam is the Chief Revenue Officer at ShipChain, a blockchain-based solution provider for the transport and logistics industry. After a successful $30 million raise in a week, they are now building a platform that will disrupt the multi-trillion-dollar industry. As a serial entrepreneur, blockchain advocate, investor, and talent manager, Sam has worked with some of the biggest brands in the world, such as Sony, Fender, Virgin, Universal Music, Ogilvy, Heineken, Visa, and Mercedes. Sam, welcome to the Blockchain 360 podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited to be on.
Just going over this background on you, you've done so many different things. I mean, one of the things that struck me is you actually donate some of your time to help others. I mean, how does that all work?
I know, right? Yeah. I mean, I think it's super important to give back, and not only financially. I think time is even more valuable than sometimes than financials, because I was very blessed with some good mentors that helped me out and kind of shared advice from their mistakes and their successes in their business and personal life. And I've just been, I saw myself as blessed or fortunate, whatever you want to call it, and I thought, hey, this is what we need to make the world go around. Someone gave me a shot, and I'm going to give someone else a shot.
Oh, that's an awesome thing to do. This is a podcast about blockchain, and blockchain technology is the topic. So I want to know your perspective as to why blockchain and blockchain technology is going to be our future, and why are we going to be dependent upon it?
I'm a big blockchain advocate, so I can throw out an hour-long rant. I'm not going to do that, of course, but it's such an important technology because it gives the power back to the people, pretty much. And it's also because it's decentralized, it's a tamper-resistant environment, and it opens up so many opportunities for not only one of the keywords for blockchain is always provenance, right? Because
right,
you can trace the true origin of something, be it a transaction, a line of code, or a digital ID, a contract, whatever it is. But there's only one single source of truth recorded on the blockchain, and it can only be edited with the consensus of the whole network. And every edit is auditable by everyone. So instead of us having to trust, a separate institution to handle your whatever transactions, insurance, contracts, whatever, there's now a more open environment where everybody can go in and then kind of audit it and give their consent on the network. So I think, together with, I always tell people, I mean, I wasn't the one kind of coming up with this, but they say we're entering the fourth industrial revolution right now, and it's fueled by blockchain, IoT, and AI, and that's how much it's going to change the world. Because if you look at the other industrial revolutions, the first one was trade associations and steam changed the world completely, right? Then you had mass production and electricity, massive change in the world. Third one was e-commerce, internet, absolutely changed the world. And now we have blockchain, IoT, and AI, which will change the world in the same manner.
All right. So you're the chief revenue officer for ShipChain.
Hmm.
So how is it going to impact ShipChain? I mean, what is ShipChain first of all? What is it? Is it part of the supply chain? Is it just the shipping part of it? Like, what is that component?
So at ShipChain, we're building a complete ecosystem that contains all the actors in a supply chain. So it's everywhere from shippers and carriers to logistics firms and to IoT device manufacturers, insurance companies, etc. Because the supply chain is so extremely complex today. It's a complex environment and it's highly fragmented. So, to build this ecosystem, of course, we're focusing on a couple of initial phases. Whereas one is tracking and tracing. One of the big problems in the transport and logistics industry, which is one of the biggest industries in the world, got a market cap of over $10 trillion, is that there's no unified tracking system. So
Right.
if you're shipping a container from China to whatever, Detroit, New York, LA, somewhere else in the world, whatever, it usually goes through anywhere between 3, 4, up to 14, 15 different tracking systems, which makes it extremely fragmented, which opens up for, of course, no accountability and stuff disappearing. There's just in the US, there's more than $30 billion worth of theft reported every year. And this is a low number because not everyone reports their theft because they don't want to hurt their credibility as far. So it's just the numbers are baffling uh, to see that this much is disappearing and it has to go through this many tracking systems to get somewhere, which of course causes delays, causes again stuff disappearing, causes confusion. Um, so that's what we're doing. We're adding a blockchain layer to existing solutions. Our whole motto is to integrate, not to replace, right? So adding a
Right.
blockchain layer means that you now have again a single source of truth that you're following through your whole supply chain.
All right. So one of the things you just referenced is that there's a shipping of any material, whether it be building material or the end product, can go from anywhere up to 14 different tracking platforms. How is it that the ship chain is going to actually integrate all of those platforms? Why? I mean, what is the incentive for all of these people to abandon their existing platforms to join the ship chain platform?
Well, again, so the goal is not to have them abandon the platforms, but the goal is to consolidate everything onto a blockchain layer that we supply. And why we want to do that is because again, uh, instead of having your data spread among 14 different databases or 3 different databases, whatever it is, right? You now
Right.
have, like I said, the whole provenance part. You have one place where all the data gets saved. You can see all the changes. You can audit everything that happens along the blockchain. So if you collect the data from these 3 or 5 or 14 different tracking systems, why they're going to have to do that is because whoever owns the product and wants it shipped wants to make sure where it is without any delays, without extra costs, and making sure it doesn't disappear. So the whole plan for adoption is, of course, that they will kind of enforce the usage of the ShipChain platform throughout their supply chain.
Okay, so I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, one of the values that you're trying to bring is this consolidation,
Hmm.
and that consolidation of data is important. But I mean, there are institutional players who relish that middleman role, and they
Hmm.
add markups. I mean,
Hmm.
that's part of the existing platform. So
Hmm.
how is that going to be resolved? I mean, obviously, and I don't even know what the middlemen generally sometimes add as a premium, but
hmm
How is the blockchain going to actually alleviate that or make it more affordable?
You bring up a very, very good point, because one of the problems for anyone shipping goods, of course, is that they have to use these brokers. Some of them are very good and they're good at what they do. Some of them are, they add up to 30 to 50% to the whole to the cost of the transport, right?
Now, is
So
that collectively or
no,
individually?
no, that's again, it depends on different brokers. Some add
Right.
10, some add 30, some add 50, some whatever it is, right? But that's the whole idea with blockchain technology, is disintermediation, right? Regardless of industry, if it's in shipping, if it's in fintech, if it's in pharma, if it's whatever it is, it's the disintermediation, meaning that I'm not going to say we're going to get rid of the middlemen, because that's not the plan or the idea, but the middlemen are going to have to redefine their business models and what they're doing. Some of these, I understand, are huge conglomerates, big companies, etc. But with the risk of sounding a little bit cocky, I'm sure Blockbuster 10 years ago thought that nobody could touch them because they had 9,000 stores all over the U.S.
That's
What
true.
what
They
happened a
did.
couple of years later? Well, Netflix came along, and where's Blockbuster now? Where's Sears? Where's Radio Shack? Where's Borders? Where do you see what I mean? Like there's a lot of these companies that didn't adapt to new technology that are now gone because they didn't redefine. Some of them have redefined. I mean, looking at IBM, for example, right? They used to sell computers. They don't sell computers anymore. They're the
No,
biggest
service
consulting
company.
organization in the world.
Yeah.
Exactly. The biggest one of the biggest service companies in the world. That's an example of someone who redefined their business plan and kept up with the changing times. So that's the whole vision I have, is that we've had discussions with brokers, and some of them love us. They're like, oh my god, this is the future. I see how we can use this to help our customers. And it's kind of a stamp of, like you have USDA organic on your produce or meat, right? And they're like, we'll have the
Right.
ShipChain stamp on there. It's amazing. While some of them have called us and just yelled like, what the hell are you doing? I'm going to be out of a job, blah blah blah. So it's like, it is what it is, and that's how I see it going.
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking back about, when all of a sudden UPS and FedEx, I mean, we're based in the US, but um, UPS and FedEx started giving the tracking numbers and you could actually see where it was in the
hmm
process. I mean, so having the ability to track your material, I mean, I'm tracking just my Amazon
Yeah.
delivery. I'm not trying to track something that is important to, a vitally important like auto supply material, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
engines or transmissions.
Yeah.
Well, that's really a cool thing. So, but one of the things that it did for me is it improved the communications between me and the company I bought it from, whether
hmm
it was Amazon or someone else. Having
Yep.
that information is the ship chain platform going to also help what used to be, at least for individuals, fractured communication. Is that going to be now part of the integration into the solution you're providing?
That's a great question. It's something we have talked about down the line. I can't say if there's going to be an actual communications platform on there, but I definitely think that in the end, yes, uh, because regardless of if it's fully integrated into our platform, there's going to be a way to uh, communicate, because how blockchain works. I'm not going to say for the end consumer. We're only focused on containers and pallets for now, right? So we're not going into parcel service at all.
Sure.
But yeah, I think you know just the fact that you have a much more improved tracking system, document handling system, and pipeline in place is going to enable much better communication.
Well, how's that going to impact? So, if I'm shipping a container, so I go onto Amazon and I order a container's worth of something,
Yeah,
and it's shipped from overseas. Yeah, see, I'm ordering big here, so
yeah, yeah.
is it going to help with like the custom step? I mean, how
Yes.
is explain how that works?
So what happens now is the customs procedure or process is very complicated, and it takes a lot of time, and there's a lot of paperwork, and it also depends on where you're ordering from and what it is that you're ordering. Clothes versus perishable goods or food items or whatever, right? But some of the tests we've run, and I've seen reports of other companies that are doing tests now with import export, especially over in Asia, etc., is that you can take down or you can lower the time from 3 to 4 weeks of bureaucracy to 3 or 4 days. I mean,
Oh,
which
nice.
yeah, I mean, which saves an enormous amount of time, which of course makes more money or saves more money depending on how you look at it and from what angle. Uh, but also, again, um, with automation and the smart contracts and all that, this is going to be a slower adoption, right? We're not going to see the customs aren't just going to say that next month we're doing blockchain, customs processing, and then everything's
They
going to be
could,
automated.
maybe.
Yeah, well, we could always hope, right? But
That's right.
yeah, but that's the big goal. I mean, to have a couple of advanced, innovative countries start this process so the rest of the world can follow.
Right,
Absolutely.
right.
Yeah.
So, what are you doing to incentivize all the participants, all these middlemen, the shipping? I mean, the manufacturers and the companies that are receiving these large containers of material. I mean, that's the best way to describe it. What is I mean, from each of the endpoints, I can see the incentivization aspect of it. But how are you incentivizing all these the rest of the people in that ship chain?
Well, there are different incentives to use, like you said. I mean, at the endpoints, we have the driver rewards program, and we have moderators, actual people that go out and moderate and make sure that the truck is physically there, or the pallets are physically there, the containers are physically there, making sure, because we still need a human element. But the incentive I see for for them to use and to integrate is, one, it drives effectivization, if that's a word, right? I mean, it makes the supply chain way more effective. Again, if you have document handling on blockchain, and you can take that process down from weeks to days, that's just, I mean, the improvement in the efficiency is that's a big incentive I see. And then two, of course, is that you have this consolidated system with again the decentralized single source of truth. It's very secure as well, right? I mean, we're building on the Ethereum blockchain. It's never been hacked or tampered with so far, and I don't think it's ever going to be. So there, I see definitely the effectivization, the security. There's a whole bunch of incentives as I see it.
Right. Well, now remind me again, what is the size of this segment of the global market? I mean, how big is it globally? How big is it in the US? And like, what is the volume that is actually being transported?
Well, globally, the market cap is about $10 trillion or so, and in the U.S., it accounts for, I think it's 1.8 or $2 trillion, and accounts for about 10% of the national GDP. So I mean, it's a massive industry. I don't remember the exact number. We have them in the white paper and on the website, I think, but the exact number of loads being transported every year, but it's in the billions of tons, and the numbers are insane. It's a much larger industry than you would ever think, really. I mean, I've been involved in transport and logistics from a import export sense, and we've done big campaigns for some of these global brands where we were shipping stuff, overseas and importing
Right,
stuff
right.
for. And I experienced these delays and these problems and stuff disappearing, etc. But I never realized until I started, till we founded ShipChain, that holy cow, this is so massive. I mean, we're talking about, pharma is a huge industry. It's become a trillion
Right.
dollar industry, but transport and logistics is, I mean, we're talking double digit $1 trillion, and it's increasing every single year.
So tell me a little bit about the management team and that you have there at ShipChain.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have, our CEO, John
John.
Monarch, our CEO,
Okay.
is, He owns one of the biggest fulfillment centers in the South, and that's how I got to know him by doing business with them, quite a few years ago. And he sees these problems on a daily basis. I mean, shipping hundreds of thousands of packages every day, they've
Right.
experienced everything between A to Z of the problems in supply chain. And that's actually how ShipChain started, was that me and Brian, our CMO, and John were in a chat where we were talking about, well, not only, crypto is always fun to talk about, and then we just talk about innovative stuff and blockchain. We're all very interested in blockchain. And
Right.
he was kind of just laying it out one night about all the issues and the problems in transport and logistics. And we were like, wait a second, this is, come to think of it, Vitalik talked about disrupting, the transport and logistics industry in his white paper for Ethereum. And we were like, this is, we're a bunch of entrepreneurs, and we're like, this is an amazing opportunity to go in and kind of, disrupt or redefine a whole industry. And then Brian Evans, of course, who I've had a business with for many, many years, who's an amazing marketer, and he's got a huge following. He's just a great marketing guy. He knows the ins and outs of really lifting up a brand and getting the message out there. Lots of press and social media contacts, etc. Um, and then chief strategy, we took in Roger Crook, who used to be the CEO of DHL, Global Forwarding. So I mean, that guy has been, all over the world. He's handled the South
He's
American.
just a beginner. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He knows nothing.
Exactly. We just picked him off the street, but no.
Driving down the street, that guy looks good.
Yeah. Hey, you want to work with transport and logistics? That's, here's an opportunity for you.
He's gonna like, I know nothing about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's been the global director for South America, Central America, Asia. I mean, he's been with DHL for such a long time, and then now he's doing his own. I think he's running a fund as well. But I mean, the doors he has opened for us, and the strategies he's helped us with is of course very valuable. Um, let's see. Clinton is our VP of partnerships. Amazing guy. He's one of the one of the best go-getters I've ever worked with. This guy is just a machine. You just tell him to go get the president, and he'll get the president for dinner for you. I mean, this guy is just, I don't know how he does it, but I love that he does it. So he's
That's it. Amazing.
yeah, he's one of those where you're just, sometimes you meet people that are just, you're just like how the hell did you do that? And he just does it over and over and over again. Just gets, he got us into UN, and he got us into some
Wow.
huge names that we're talking to, and so he's just one of those machines that are just, yes, just keep doing whatever you're doing.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, the technology you're building out, I think your CTO is Lee
Mhm.
Bailey. Uh, so tell me a little bit about the technology. You're building this, I presume, on the Ethereum platform.
Yeah. So Lee
Do you
is
know
an
why? Just curious, why the Ethereum platform versus any other?
absolutely. I mean, Lee loves to rant about that. Lee is the most amazing dev and leader I've ever worked with. And I've worked with quite a few devs, let me tell you. I mean, this is something that, uh, this is why I love ShipChain, because the team is stellar. I've never worked with a team that's this just complete, and it's amazing. Now, the tech, we chose the Ethereum platform because it's the most enterprise tested platform out there. It's been around for about 4 years. There's hundreds of millions of dollars worth of market caps on the Ethereum blockchain. Now, it has its scalability issues, and we're well aware of them. But the thing is, with all that money, with all those tokens hosted on it, and with such a prominent and very active, lead dev in Vitalik, I I don't foresee that they'll slow down and not do anything about scalability. I mean, the Casper updates come in, the Swarm stuff, uh, they have to make it faster and more scalable. And
Right.
that's why we chose it, because if you look at any other of these blockchains that I mean, we've had them come pitch us. I don't know how many times now. Oh, we're so fast, we can do all these transactions with blah 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 blah. But it's like, okay, well, who's using it? Do you have the enterprise kind of capacity that Ethereum has? And None of them has it yet. I'm not saying they're bad at all. We just need to see them proven and tested in a real
Right.
environment first.
Well, it's the same argument that people made when Ethereum first launched. It was like, hey, why should we try this when we have the Bitcoin blockchain?
Yeah,
You're unproven. Who's even using you? And
yeah, yeah,
time has shown it to be different. All right,
yeah.
but so I think that that's an interesting choice. Simply because I would think that you're going to have a lot of transactions. I mean, when you
Hmm.
start to think about it, not only just the volume of business that you're going to be delivering or helping to manage.
Hmm.
The transactional aspect of it is really what would concern me, and so I'm sure it's concerning others.
Hmm.
But you've made a few points with regards to how it can be possibly resolved, and so let's hope. And but I'm guessing that you're also building your technology such that if um, an equally stable, equally capable blockchain came along that maybe had greater capabilities, that you could port it over to that.
Absolutely, yes. That's always been, one of the foundations of the platform, so to speak. And I know during our talks with Lee as well that he keeps saying that hey, if if everything goes to hell, then we can port it over pretty quickly to any other blockchain as well. So yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
All right. So now, have you done an ICO at ShipChain?
So we never made it to ICO. We sold out our pre-sale and had to cancel our ICO.
That's just horrible.
Yeah, yeah,
How much
absolutely.
did you raise?
So we raised $30 million.
Wow, that's fantastic. And
Yeah.
how long did that take to do?
Well, I mean, we raised it in about a week, but overnight success, right? It took nine
Right.
months of 80-hour weeks with zero pay to kind of get it done. But yeah, we sold out in a week, but we prepared for about 9 months before that.
I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, the Blockchain Academy. The Blockchain Academy is an educational training firm that offers blockchain training for developers and stakeholders. The Blockchain Academy works with enterprise clients to create and deliver custom, innovative training programs globally. The Blockchain Academy is now offering the following live courses: blockchain security, blockchain architecture, Hyperledger developer workshops, Ethereum's Zero to D app, and blockchain for lawyers. Visit the Blockchain Academy website for course outlines and dates. The Blockchain Academy courses can be delivered as company-specific training, tailor-made to fit your organizational needs. The Blockchain Academy is both cost-effective and flexible. Visit them at theblockchainacademy.com. So tell me a little bit about the advisors that you have that are helping ShipChain. I mean, obviously you have incredible talent in-house, but what kind of advisors or external people who are helping you with this? I mean, do you have existing shippers on that board of advisors who are at least giving you a perspective that is helping you guide the construction of your product?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have Al Patanaro from XPO. XPO is I think the biggest carrier in the U.S. Who's helping us with that. We also have we have a couple of guys from Thomson Reuters. We have David McCarville, who used to run all the nuclear waste management for the Department of Energy.
You would
Uh,
think that they would want to track all of that for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yes. Yeah, that would be one of those things where you're like, wait, should this just be important to track? Yes, absolutely. Um, so we tried to get a good mix of people that would help us both in transport and logistics, and of course, again, Roger Cook we have in there, but we also wanted to have people that came from the blockchain and crypto world, and VC world. Like we have Kevin Harrington, for example, from Shark Tank, who's helping us, and he's shipped billions of dollars worth of goods. Excuse me. So he knows all the ins and outs of
Right.
import export, and he's experienced a lot of these problems. Chris Purdue, of course, from Purdue Farms that we're doing a pilot with.
As
Steve
in
Scote.
Purdue chickens?
Yeah, yeah, they do chicken. Yeah, they're the largest distributor of organic chicken and grain in the U.S.
Oh, I didn't know they also did grain. That's very interesting.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Who's of course they have a massive supply chain. Who's a big help, of course.
Right.
Steve Scoach, who used to be the CFO of Amgen, which is a double-digit billion-dollar biotech company, and then well, he was also the CEO and CFO at Miramax, not during Weinstein, of course, so he's had a lot of experience in the shipping and logistics from the biotech and pharma side,
That's pretty
so to
cool.
speak. Yeah.
So let's talk now about what's the roadmap for ShipChain? Where are you now, and what is the release dates that are coming up for the product? I mean, when can people start to actually play around? Do you have like an SDK that's available, or do you have a point that you've actually can show that you've done a proof of concept? So where are you in that process?
So our load contracts are live on the Ethereum mainnet. So you can access them, but you would need to, how to integrate with them, so to speak. What we're doing now, what we're focusing on this year are large pilot programs. So what we've announced so far is, of course, Purdue Farms that we're doing a big pilot with, and we've also announced K-Stack. K-Stack, they do about 1 million loads a year.
What
They're
is
going to do.
K-Stack?
They're a transport company and a supply chain company that they do about 1 million loads a year, and they transport stuff for they handle transportation for Walmart and Amazon and Target and Duracell and all kinds of big brands and big retailers.
Sure.
Uh, so it's a lot of a lot of loads they're handling, so which is a great opportunity for us to kind of come in and do tracking and tracing, and using tokens on the platform, etc. And then we just announced a partnership with a South African company as well. So and we're in talks with, of course, more companies to do pilot programs, but that's the focus for this year, so that
Right.
we can kind of shape the ecosystem. We learn how to address the issues that they have in their current supply chains, and then launch end of year Q4 or Q1 next year is when the front end platform is going to launch. So you're going to be able to go in on the website and book your freight. So if you have a container or 10 containers or whatever, and you need to move them from point A to B, you'll be able to do that through the platform.
Sure. So the issue now is really this: you're the chief revenue officer,
Yeah.
and what is the business model? How is it you guys are going to generate your revenue?
So we have a couple of revenue streams, so to speak. One of them is, of course, when you're booking transport on the front end on the website, so to speak, there will be a small percentage of your cost will be our fee, so to speak.
Right.
um, and that's going to be on a volume based model, so to speak. And then we have, of course, for companies with large internal supply chains who won't need to go, to a website and book their freight. We're going to offer it's more of a consulting model where we go in and we help them integrate, we consult, do the technical work, and then have ongoing support, etc. So those are the
Right.
main channels. And then we're also looking at a licensing model because we built a hardware prototype that integrates with ELDs, the electronic logging devices in trucks, that we're going to license that technology out as well.
All right. So 2018 is you're working out the kinks and you're doing your POCs. What is the roadmap for 2019?
So 2019 is launch, of course, of the web platform is the most important thing. We're also going to build out more of the AI to use on the web platform. It's a very important part where you're routing a container from point A to B, you want to what's the most effective route, if you're on a truck, which route has the least potholes, and you don't want to make left turns, et cetera, et cetera. So we're working on that, and then also just that 2019 is going to be big on the biz dev side, because that's when we're going to start onboarding smaller and mid-sized, and of course large corporations as well. So
Right.
we're really going to expand on the biz dev team and start onboarding people because we're
Right.
live.
That's amazing. That is an incredible and very aggressive timeline. So, coming back to all of this, what is it that you I mean, are there competitors out there who are struggling or trying to do the same thing? And what makes your product superior to theirs?
You know, we get that question a lot, and I know we always answer that. This is we're looking for collaborations, not a competition per se. If we're looking in the blockchain environment, right? In the centralized solution, so to speak, yes, there are competitors, definitely. But I would again say that, hey, we're looking to integrate, not to replace. I've seen a couple of other blockchain projects pop up that are kind of doing the same thing. They're building solutions for supply chain, etc. But in a traditional business world, I would say, they're competitors and we're going to win, and I'm as aggressive as a biz dev and salesperson as anyone else. But the whole idea about blockchain to me is to build a more collaborative environment. We have to realize the fact that there are going to be a multitude of blockchains out there, and we're going to need to learn to integrate. That's just how it is. Because the whole philosophy with blockchain is kind of liberating data and decentralizing. So we can't think in the old school kind of centralized manner. Do you see what I mean? Like, it's just we
You
have to
can,
share.
but
Well, you can, but it kind of goes against the whole philosophy. So, so it's a long answer to your question, but I don't see any competitors doing exactly what we're doing. I
right,
see companies doing certain things that I would love to integrate into the ShipChain platform because they do
right,
things that we're not really doing. But I don't see anyone building the all encompassing kind of ecosystem that we're doing.
right. So, what are the big obstacles that you're faced with? I mean, obviously, if you're the leader in terms of innovation in the space and moving it towards the marketplace as a blockchain using blockchain technology,
Hmm.
are you encountering obstacles that are going to help define who you are? I mean, obviously, the very first question a lot of people ask about any blockchain implementation is why blockchain? In the
Hmm.
supply chain, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it provides the trust and the transparency that you want
Hmm.
for something that from very complex. But I mean, what are the obstacles that you're faced with? Is it really that I mean, I don't know. Rather than speculate, tell me, what are the obstacles you face?
Yeah. uh, when you're going in and redefining an industry anywhere, and with new technology that's just in its infancy, there are a lot of obstacles, of course. One of them being trust, and not in a blockchain trust kind of sense, but trust in the technology and trust in the future of the technology, and of course mass adoption. you know
Right,
uh, we need the economies of scale of blockchain. Kind of sets the rule that you have to have the more players you have on a blockchain, the safer and more effective it becomes. So
sure.
I think getting companies on board in an industry that's been slightly or highly reluctant to change and slow to adapt.
Right,
I mean, I go to some of these conferences, and some of these, these are huge companies doing hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, and they're talking about digitizing. Like, we have to get on computers, and I'm like, wow, like, wow, we're entering the blockchain age, and you're talking about getting on computers. While some of them are super technology, super high tech. So when I'm out pitching, and Clinton's out pitching, and the biz dev team's out pitching, it's kind of a 50-50. Either they're like super excited to see us, uh, and the champagne is kind of laid out on the table, and let's talk blockchain, and how this can help us, and we know it can help us become more effective and transparent. This is exactly what we want. While others are like, sitting down with their arms crossed, and just very hesitant to hearing anything we have to say because blockchain is just such a hype word, which it is. Blockchain. I
Well,
mean,
that is
blockchain.
an obstacle,
Yeah.
having perception is, how others are perceiving. I mean, do you find that in your role that you're actually having to educate, these
Yes.
potential clients? I mean,
Absolutely. And
I mean,
that's
when you were
but
telling me the story about, that they're talking about becoming digitized,
yeah.
I'm thinking in their back room, in their supply room, they have these little, index cards, and it's just stacks and stacks of them.
Yeah, dude, pretty much. Let me tell you, I've seen companies doing, you know, we talked to a company that does about $80 million a year, and they're doing everything on pen and paper.
That's just incredible.
$80 million a year, pen and paper, and I'm like, do you realize if you automate and put this stuff on computers, you could be, I mean, you could scale exponentially in no time, you know, because you're just wasting time on pen and paper stuff, But and they're excited, but they're also, I met with another company that they just bought they just integrated some big platform, some big system, and the guy was like, I don't like it. I think we're going to go back to more manual work.
More manual work.
I'm like, wow, what? And these are the guys. I'm just thinking, blockbuster,
I know.
blockbuster.
Well, it's funny
You
to
see
me.
what I mean? It's like,
Absolutely.
because you
You know,
have companies coming in that are just super excited. They want to automate. They want to make it quick, effective, transparent. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah.
I mean, my feeling about the technology is that this isn't like other technologies where there can be a slow adoption rate. To me, this is the moment that major players start using it, it's the tipping
Hmm.
point, and that
Yep.
either everyone adopts it then almost immediately,
Yep.
or they are the blockbusters out there
Yeah.
and they're gone.
Yep, absolutely. And I mean, that's the thing. When we started pitching this early last year, people are like, I don't know. What is this? It's kind of weird. Yeah, maybe let's talk. And then IBM comes out with a press release, what they're doing with Maersk. I guarantee you, like 100% of all the people we talked to emailed me back. When can we get started? I saw this
They're going,
article.
whoops.
Yeah, exactly. Whoa, IBM is now everybody's. You have Microsoft, Accenture,
Right.
Samsung. I mean, you have Walmart, like all the major Amazon. Everybody's on the train now, and now it's of course now the pendulum has swung all the way to the right, and where it's like you could almost sell a weight loss product, and say it's blockchain based because blockchain's
Blockchain,
going to
yeah.
help you, yeah, lose weight. But so but going back to what you said, I think, yes, education is key. That's why we're out. Like all of us, the full management team are all booked solid the whole summer, the whole fall. We're doing podcasts, we're doing speaking engagements at conferences, etc. We're doing media interviews, and not to really promote ShipChain, but we have to be recognized as thought leaders and educators of the change that is happening, because to me that's automatically going to attract the business we need to attract anyway. You see what I mean? I
Right.
don't I don't believe in going out and just pitching and, oh, look at me, look at us, we're so great, and people are just going to go, oh, whatever. But if you have something interesting to say, then you're like, oh, well, this guy or this gal seems to know what the hell they're talking about, and this might be something I need or my friends need or whatever. Let me have a chat with them. Um, so
That's
yeah,
true.
yeah.
So one of the things that, of course, that logistics brings up, at least in my mind, is trying to manage things that are important to people. So whether it be like diamonds, blood diamonds, or
Hmm.
coffee that is produced in bad areas, or uh,
Hmm.
buying from suppliers who are using child labor. I mean,
Yes.
explain to me what at least the approach is that you and your team are making on that.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we've been talking to, not sure I'm allowed to announce this yet, but I'm going to do it anyway. But I mean, we've been talking to mining operations, for example, in
Sure.
countries where they've been known to maybe exploit children or have illegal workers and etc. And these are mining operations that want to make sure that consumers can see that they are not doing it.
Right.
So, and that helps. How we're going to solve it, I couldn't tell you, because it requires, the full blockchain solution is you need to have it from origin to end, so to speak, right? To make sure, you need to have moderators go out and make sure that they're telling the truth, and then you follow the product throughout the supply chain, etc. But I think that's a very, very important point that you're bringing up, and I love all these projects that are doing all these things that they're doing. Like, for example, I always talk about Everledger, for example. They're doing it with diamonds, making sure that you
Right.
don't have blood diamonds, etc. And I think it's a great project. We haven't talked to them, but that's a project I would love to integrate into the ShipChain platform. You
Right.
see what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's another. I just read about another project. Can't remember what it's called, but it traces your leather back to see, where's your leather coming from, and is it a humane treatment, and all that stuff, and you can track your food. And I think it's important because we're moving towards a much
I have
more.
to stop you for a second. So,
Yeah.
I think the irony is that we're tracking leather. I mean, I am not a PETA fan, nor am I, a person who wants to take these things and use them inappropriately. But
Mhm.
I mean, when you talk about leather, I mean, this is just an aside. The thing that I find fascinating is we're still having to kill the animal to get the leather. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I mean,
but
I'm
it's
not
important
I'm
though.
not a PETA fan or a vegan, but I'm totally against suffering. I'm very
That's
active,
true.
with I'm active with a lot of these animal organizations, etc. And I don't know if I really believe that everybody should be a vegan, because I'm not, but I'm very conscious about what I buy when I don't eat a lot of meat, but when I do, I only buy, like, I mean, I'm going to sound like the biggest snob ever, but I only buy the grass fed, animal centered meat, because I don't like suffering. Do you see what I
Right.
mean? And I think it's important because I don't think, however shocking PETA's marketing may be, I don't think it's that. I don't believe that's really the way to change the world long term, because again, education is key, and if we're talking about leather, right, you might want to make sure, at least if you're getting leather products, you're buying a computer bag or shoes or whatever, that the animals were treated well
That's true.
before they were made into a
But
shoe.
I mean, this gets back to exactly what ShipChain is all about. I mean, if you can start to now track these things that are important to you as an individual, if
Yes.
all of a sudden the the retailers that you're buying it from, these manufacturers can actually provide this type of information to you,
Yes.
it's empowering to the individual. I mean, it's the whole
Exactly.
argument that people say about that they only want to eat food that is locally produced, whether
Yeah.
that's 50 miles or 250 miles.
Right.
But having the ability to use something that is trustworthy, a blockchain,
Yeah.
to validate that, I
Yeah.
think that that's just amazing.
Exactly, and I completely agree. And I see that we're moving. I mean, I'm in LA, so I would say that there's a lot of conscious consumerism here, but I see it in the rest of the world as well, as we're traveling around a lot. That it's conscious consumerism is a thing, and people
Right,
want to know, where did my mango come from? Where did my whatever come from? I want to know. Where did my coffee come from? Right? Where did my
right,
again, whatever it is, right? And people want to know, and they have the right to know. And for example, like one of the things we're looking at, just to get started on something, is having a fully certified green supply chain throughout the ship chain environment. So let's say you want to move a container from A to B, and you want it to go only on a green like on a green certified ship, on a
right,
certified
right,
train, certified truck, etc. You'll get a green stamp at the end of it saying that, hey, you know, your container or pallet went a completely green route, and that's a good start for a consumer to see that, hey, this is actually, doing everything it can for the environment and reducing the carbon footprint and all that
Oh,
stuff.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. So, uh, kind of to wrap this up, so what is the takeaway that you think that the listeners to the Blockchain 360 podcast should take from at least what you're doing with ShipChain? Because I find it very fascinating. But so, what is that? The one or two takeaways that they should be thinking about as it relates to what you guys are doing.
Well, I think again, if not only pertaining to chip chain, but I think it's important to get educated about blockchain technology, because it is it is changing the world in a massive way. ShipChain is going to enable, tracking and awareness for the consumers. And I think what they can do is, of course, starting to look into how do we get, wherever I'm buying my goods from, uh, how do we get them shipping? Well, through ShipChain would be great, but how do we just get their supply chain to become more conscious, more green? How do we track the goods, etc.? I think it's more important because I mean we're our marketing is mostly toward industry players. So if industry players are listening, then of course we'd love to work with you. We'd love to help you effectivize and make it way more transparent, etc. But
Right.
for a general consumer, I think it's more important to just, first of all, like we talked about, educate yourself about what you're buying and where you're buying it from, and then educate yourself about blockchain technology and how it will actually help you um, moving forward.
Right. I want to thank you. I mean, this has really been a fascinating a topic. I mean, we're into our second season, and you're actually one of our, well, I think you're number 15, episode 15,
Nice.
and of our second season. And the reality of it is I haven't had a guest that talked about, the supply chain. And so it's been really interesting. When you were first proposed to me, I said, absolutely, because this is a topic that is going to be of interest to me. And
Yep.
therefore, in my mind, it's of interest to everyone else.
Right.
But
Right. Yeah.
no one else's opinion matters. It's just mine.
Right, exactly. No, I mean, I thought this was a fantastic conversation. I love conversations like this, and I love, I love the format of it, and I love, digging into how blockchain is changing not only supply chain but the world in itself, right? So this is, thank you so much for having me on. This was an amazing conversation.
Well, thank you for coming here. I want to thank all of our listeners. Again, the show notes will include links to ShipChain's website and their Twitter account. And if you want to know more about them, you can go to their website and join them in creating the next evolution of logistics.
The Blockchain 360 podcast is produced weekly. Have a question? Want us to interview someone specific? Wish to hear about a particular topic? Let us know. You can email podcast@blockchain360.co or tweet us on Twitter @blockchain360 or at our website blockchain360.co.